Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Toonkind at 12 FPS. This is Recovery Technique. I am Oatmeal, and I'll be playing the professor. With me today is.
Hi everyone. I'm Vamp. I know. Hold your applause. And today I shall be playing Ehri Houdin, the stage magician. Not to be confused as a magic man because he doesn't actually have any magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is taking place. It shouldn't be um, overly. It shouldn't have like all of the same content warnings as the games that uh, predate this, because it's while it's a teeny bit related, it is coming after, and we'll have probably some basic spoilers for the games, The Mercenaries and The Diamond of Despair. Um,
Mhm.
so if you don't want those spoiled, maybe scoot. Um, but yeah, this will have spoilers for those, and it takes place a good couple days, a good several days after that. Professor is uh, he's been rescued. He's had plenty of time to heal. He's feeling much better, but he's not quite allowed out of the house yet. Um, he's not really supposed to go out. Uh, um, so he's having some moments of um, boredom.
Intense boredom.
Yeah, yeah. He would like a distraction. Um,
Yeah. And I imagine that when Ehri enters the house, I'm assuming someone either let him in or at this point he has his own key considering everything.
mm-hmm.
Um when he either way when he enters the house, I imagine Professor is just kind of like basic.
Doing what?
Just I'm just imagining the Professor is pacing or something, given how bored he is.
He's probably he's probably what would you be doing right now? I think he'd be like splayed out in a comfortable chair. Like he's got some books around him. Half of them are open. One of them he's got like on his lap, but seems increasingly like bored with. Like he just can't pay attention.
Yep. And just as a nod to the thing that we mentioned earlier today, I
Mm.
imagine that there are a few apple slices here and there.
Uh huh. Yeah.
There are a few apple slices and poker cards here and there.
Yeah, yeah. Professor may have been playing poker with Sleeper earlier using apple slices as poker chips.
Yeah, the alternative was betting real gold, and as the game went on, it soon became very clear to Professor that he's very lucky that Sleeper did not actually play for gold.
Oh yeah, yeah. But Sleeper is better at poker than the professor. Professor's not bad at it. Um, but yeah, Sleeper's better.
Say Demon has got up to eat his files and is abandoning Professor to his boredom. And so Eri kind of goes like goes into the house, sees the professor, and he knocks on the wall to kind of alert the professor that he's there, just kind of
hmm Hello. Yes.
I'm sorry, am I intruding on something, Professor?
No. 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 Come in, please.
And Eri will come in. He probably has a basket under one arm, and Professor can roll perception, I guess.
Mm.
First perception of the FPS.
Sure. Oh God. Okay. Um, 6.
6.
Yeah.
Wow, this FPS is off to a great start. Professor, I don't know, like, Professor drops the book on his face.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Eri just got, Eri, like, walks closer as Professor drops the book on his face and cannot see anything, and he places the basket down on the table, and it's just, I brought you all some gifts, and it's basically a little care basket. You know, the kind of the
Mm,
baskets you send to people who you know are like sick or
mm-hmm.
won't have time to cook or something,
Yeah.
with like food and like drinks and all that. It's something like that.
Oh, that's nice.
They are not homemade because Ari is not that good of a cook, and he knows that. But like, it's a little nice little care basket. It at least like alleviates the need to go grocery shopping for a bit.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Uh, Professor like shoves his books aside and takes a look at it. Um, just kind of going through it and like making comments about the context, like, "Ooh, this is a really good tea," or um, "Oh, you got some really nice biscuits."
Yeah, there's probably like at least one Rubik's Cube in there,
Haha.
considering everyone who's in the house.
Mm-hmm. I think Professor like looking around and not seeing anybody else in the vicinity is just going to pick it up and absolutely start puzzling with it.
And Aries going to like take a seat on one of the other chairs. And he does watch Professor like fiddle with the Rubik's Cube for a moment, where
Mm-hmm.
it's just, are you recovering well from your ordeal? If it is all right for me to ask.
Yes, yes, it's still a lot, emotionally particularly, but as for the physical injuries, I'm doing quite a lot better now.
That is quite the relief to hear. I'm sure the others are relieved to see this as well.
Mm-hmm. I've made sure they take care of themselves as well.
He
Um,
does like give like a little smile and a nod, and he's just yes, thank you for that.
or perhaps more accurately, Crystal did, and then I pestered them about it uh, a bit too late to actually have been any help.
You do like get like a chuckle out of Ari, and kind of props his chin up on one hand, and it's just sorry, I'm every time I play Ari, I have to filter the words that he's saying through like a British translator.
Mm-hmm.
So like give me like a moment while I Britishify whatever he was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like I would not feel too bad about that if I were you. The people of this house are quite stubborn from what I know.
Yes, yes, that's very true. How have you been lately? What have you been up to?
Oh, Harry kind of like gives like a little bit of a shrug. Nothing much. My days are far less uneventful than all of yours. I've simply been performing and doing research, as I've been doing thing in Nightcrawl so far.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't remember if I ever heard. What are you? Maybe I've forgotten. What is it you do research on?
Rough, real insight.
Okay, that's much better. That is, I think, a dirty 20. Let me check his sheet. Insight. Yeah, it's a dirty 20.
Holy shit. Okay, Prof. Okay, Prof, calm down. So, you asked Ari like what he like, I don't remember if you ever told me what you were researching. Like, what are you researching?
Mm-hmm.
And you can clearly read like the way like his hand like tightens a little on like his cane.
Mm.
And you get the feeling that the fact that you don't know what he's researching and you don't remember Ari ever discussing like in detail what exactly he's researching
Mm.
isn't like a fluke.
Mm-hmm.
You have a feeling that Ari has intentionally not really been going into detail about it. And right now he seems like torn.
Mm-hmm.
Almost you get the sense that there was something he might have wanted to talk to you about.
Mm-hmm. Um,
In any
oh, yes.
in any in any case though, he kind of just like taps his like finger on the red gem of the cane as he makes a decision, and he's just, oh, it is I'm afraid it might be. I was about to say terribly unexciting, but that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not true. Like, he was about to say that. He
Mm-hmm.
paused. He thought better of it. He's like internally like, no, that's not true. And he finds like he 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 tries to like reword it. It's a very specific inquiry, so to speak.
Hmm.
I've actually been meaning to ask for your opinion on something, but
Hmm.
he kind of gestures at Olive Prof. I would hardly want to excite you in your recovery.
Oh, no, no, no. I actually could use something interesting to think about. These are not proving to be much of a distraction, as I've already read them. He just sort of like picks up a book and drops it again.
I'm just imagining the Rubik's Cube in Professor's hand at this point has been dismantled.
Uh, it's 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 definitely been it's definitely, let's see how well he puzzles it. Hang on. Oh, badly. Okay. He kind of like mixed it up, and then like he's got one row of the same color, but otherwise hasn't seemed to have made much progress.
Yeah, and Aries just like, well, I suppose that's fair, but I would hardly want you to exert yourself or stress yourself out. Would Aries just like, do you not have any other things to distract yourself with? A puzzle, perhaps? And he kind of like gestures at the Rubik's Cube that Prof is struggling TM with.
I mean, well, I can. Usually, when I need to distract myself, I work on the ellipsis, but I'm not really able to do that right now. And uh, besides that, I mean, well, if by strenuous it involves, I don't know, heavy lifting or anything like that, I probably shouldn't. But if it's just a thought exercise or research, um, I would like the excuse to do something like that.
It would just be research. Well, I suppose if you can promise me that you won't get too excitable over it, the boys would be very disappointed in me if I somehow set your recovery back.
Oh, I don't think you could do that.
God, Professor.
He is very eager for this information. It is obvious in his face and how he's like leaning forward.
Ari kind of like notes this, and Ari does not say it, but he is reminded of like the dogs that he used to see like back home. Like, like how nobles like would have hunting dogs
Mm.
and all that.
Mm-hmm.
and like how they would perk up when they're like
Mm.
addressed or about to be like sent after something.
Mm-hmm.
Professor is reminding him of that,
Mm-hmm. Oh man.
which he's not wrong.
No. No.
Yeah, and he's just like, well, all right then. And Aries going to take off his bag. He has like I'm trying suitcase isn't the right word, but that's the only thing I can think of. You know how street performers like carry their supplies around in that little like in that tiny suitcase with like wheels?
A, is it a briefcase? Perhaps.
Not quite a briefcase, but close enough. Like it's a very specific like thing I'm thinking
Mm.
of. It's like pretty big because you have to like fit your supplies for your performances in it.
Mm-hmm. It's some
But
some
like
some kind of travel case.
yeah, some kind of travel bag. Like the
Mm-hmm.
specifics don't really matter. The point is he is reaching into his travel bag. He reaches into it, he takes out what seems to like he takes out like gosh, I'm trying to yeah. He takes out what seems to be like um a pretty big box, right?
Mm.
He takes out a pretty big box. There doesn't actually seem to be a visible like keyhole or lid or anything on this box,
Mm.
but as Eri like works at it, like Professor might note that it's a puzzle box.
Mm.
Of course, a magician would have a puzzle box. Like
Mm-hmm.
that means right.
Yeah.
So he opens the puzzle box. Then there's another box inside, which he again like fiddles with to open, and this time like Professor can probably feel warding magic.
Mm. Yeah. His eyebrows are raised. He is
Yep,
watching intently.
yep. And this one Eri does like open, and there is yet another box, and this one's probably like anti-detection magic or something of the sort.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there is a reason why Aries being this paranoid over this specific thing.
Mm-hmm. Don't tell me it's some sort of item of infinite boxes.
What? You hear Ari mumble, God, I wish. But after that third box, he opens it and he reaches in and he takes out a book. I do
Mm.
not have art of this thing yet,
Mm-hmm.
and I cannot open the game that Ari is from to grab a screenshot right now
Mm-hmm.
because it will open in max volume and deafen every single person on this PC if I try.
No worries. No worries.
Yep. But regardless, it's a pretty big book. Like it's we're not talking medieval manuscript big, but
Mm.
it is like a book big enough that you can like carry it with one hand. Like it's
Mm.
still more comfortable to use both hands to carry it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right, and it's pretty thick. It's leather bound. It's leather brown cover.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have any super distinctive features to it. It looks like an average book at first glance.
Mm-hmm.
Question. I know Professor has something about sensing magic, right? I think.
Close but not exactly. I mean, he's a magic user, so if something is like, um, exuding magic, then he might be able to pick it up. But as for his special senses, he doesn't detect magic so much as he can see through illusions and invisibility.
Hmm. All right. Yeah, because I do remember that the professor had the thing where you rolled for it, but I didn't remember what that thing was.
Yes, that's the true sight. That's seeing through illusions and stuff. It has a few other features, but it's not quite the same as detect magic.
All right. Then, as a spellcaster, just a spellcaster,
Mm-hmm.
this book, this book clearly magical. Like, I
Mm.
can't give you anything else
Mm-hmm.
because obviously, like, you don't have anything up yet. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
detect magic. You haven't held the book. You haven't looked at it.
Yeah.
You haven't, what have you? But yeah, this book is very clearly magical,
Mm-hmm.
and Ehri kind of like gingerly takes the book out with his hands and lifts it up, and he shows it to the professor, and he's just um right, this is the subject of my research here in Unquell. It's I suppose you can call it a magical tome. The country that I'm from isn't one that's very well versed in magic at all. So
Mm.
I have been traveling this past few years to look into it, and Unquell has been my latest destination.
I see. Okay. Is this. Hmm. Uh. Is this. I believe you said something before to me about wanting to. Um. Wanting my opinion on a cursed object?
He nods, and he gestures at it, but yes, this will be it.
Okay. Um. Would it be okay to touch it?
Harry shrugs.
Ah.
He kind of like rubs the back of his neck and goes, admittedly I've not there have only been a few people that have handled this book. There was myself and there was this book's creator
Mm.
and um someone related to that book's creator.
Mm.
And this book was gifted to me. I'm uncertain if it would react badly
Mm.
to anyone else touching it. I've not tried.
Okay. Well, hmm. One of the best spells I have to try and figure out the um, properties of a magical item um, is the spell Identify, and it requires me to touch the item. You could still hold it, but it does require me to be in physical contact with the item for a minute.
Ari nods and it's like, I believe that should be fine. And if it worst comes to worst, if it isn't, I can snatch the book away and probably call a doctor of some kind.
Okay. He's
So
going. Yeah.
so he will like hold the book forward for Professor to touch if he likes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He'll reach over and cast Identify. Um, he's going to uh, mutter a few words in Celestial, and some of his magic just sort of slowly, uh, I guess, kind of like plucks at the edges of this object, trying to figure out what it is.
All
Um,
right, and now let me search up identify because it has been a while since I've seen it used.
yeah, no problem.
Okay, so identify. You choose one object that you must touch throughout the casting of the spell. If it is a magic item or some other magic imbued object, you learn its properties and how to use them, whether it requires attunement to use, and how many charges it has, if any. You learn whether any spells affecting the item and what they are. If the item was created by a spell, you learn which spell created it. If you instead touch a creature throughout the casting, you learn what spells, if any, are currently affecting it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. It's a good spell.
Oh, yeah, I wonder why people don't use it very often then.
Probably because it takes so long to cast. Detect magic you can do in an action and just kind of get like, oh, it's transmutation magic. But identify takes a whole minute, so it's pretty much useless in combat.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
In any case, Ooh, I can do something fun with this. Roll
Mm-hmm.
me a perception, Professor, as you're doing
Certainly.
this to see if you pick up on this neat little detail.
Certainly. Okay, that is. My perception is a +4, so that's a 15.
That is 15. All right. Professor, as you are casting Identify,
Mm-hmm.
like, while you are casting it before, like, the spell actually finishes,
Mm.
and, you know, your tendrils of your magic are creeping along up the edges of this book, poking, like, investigating,
Mm-hmm.
trying to, like, see what makes this book tick. What is this book made of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what is odd is that some of the tendrils of your magic almost seem like they're being sucked into the pages of the book.
Mm.
It's very subtle. You wouldn't have noticed it if you weren't, you know, currently casting the spell and watching like the book and possibly yourself like a hawk just to make sure that it's not cursing you on contact.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's not harming you, but you're near certain that the book is actually sapping a little bit of the magic that you're using for this spell.
Mm-hmm. He does sort of mutter to himself, like, interesting. At least this is only a first level spell.
Hmm. And as Identify pings, here's what the professor gets.
Mm-hmm.
This appears to be a spell book. It has spells within it.
Mm-hmm.
This appears to be a spell book. It has spells within it. It's definitely a magic item.
Mm-hmm.
Identify doesn't give the rarity. Yes, I don't have to give that.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, unless rarity falls under its properties?
Mm-mm. I mean, uh, eh, not really. Um, that's kind of up to your discretion. If you want to give it to me, you can, but it's not required.
All right, so you know that it's a magic item, that's
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Like, even without Identify, Professor probably would have twigged it, like, just by, like, senses and being a spellcaster alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a spell book, like, it has spells within it. Ehri hasn't opened the book yet, but, that's also kind of a given. It's a magic book.
Mm.
Yeah, there are probably spells within it. It does require attunement, and it is
Mm-hmm.
currently attuned to Ehri.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have any charges, which makes sense because it's a spell book, like, of
Mm-hmm.
course,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And there are no spells currently affecting the item, aside from, you know, Identify, which you're casting right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As for if the item was created by a spell, it was actually.
Mm-hmm.
You get the spell Wish.
Mm. Yeah, his eyes do widen at that.
And as after the minute passes and your spell all ends, Uri does like pull back the book a little and and very clearly is looking at you and trying to see if he needs to drop everything to call a doctor right now.
Mm-hmm. Uh, Professor Professor takes his hand back and just uh, smiles. It's all right. I'm fine. This is, however, very interesting. It does seem to be attuned to you, which uh, eh, I suppose makes sense. You did say it was gifted to you. Um, it's well, if you've opened it, you may already realize that it's a spell book. Um,
He nods.
Definitely a lot of magic going on here. Likely not a surprise to you either. It
He nods again.
has, however, I do. It does seem to have been created by the spell Wish, which is very curious.
Curious how so?
Well, mostly because that is a uh, hmm, it's one of the most powerful spells in existence, and it takes a lot of training and power and experience to cast. Um, I think, generally speaking, uh, most items that I come across that were created by Wish are usually created um, by a deity of some sort. Most of them can just do that because of what they are. If this was created by a mortal, um, somebody, not a god, somebody more like you or me, then that is, in fact, extremely impressive.
Hmm. All right. Roll insight.
Mm. Ooh, okay. Uh, that's 13. No, no, not a 13, 23, sorry.
Well, 23. All right. You've been saying this, and you. How should I put this? Eri is like almost grimacing.
Mm.
His expression looks a little like he's sucking on the lemon, like as
Mm-hmm.
you're saying all. And as you finish up, he's just like, yes, impressive. Yes, certainly impressive. Um, the creator of this book was thankfully not a deity. It
Mm.
was you get a sense that he doesn't like the creator of this book very much. Like he
Mm.
is acknowledging that you are factually correct. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's very impressive. The creator is like very strong, but you can also very clearly tell that Ehri does not like the creator of this book very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does take note of that and tilts his head a little bit. Have you read the book? Do you know what spells are in it?
Yes, and no. Um, I mentioned earlier that my country is not very well versed in magic, correct?
Yes, yes.
It would be more accurate to say that because of the distance between other countries and ours, as well as our isolation in most parts of our country, magic is regarded as he makes a little gesture, a myth, I suppose. Okay,
Mm.
supernatural events are regarded with. I'm trying to think of the word for it. Like supernatural events are regarded with like
Disbelief?
yeah, disbelief.
I see. I've been to such places, places where magic is either denied or um, really doesn't actually seem to exist there. It's quite curious, but okay. So you don't know. Um,
Well, I he kind of like grimaces again, and he's just as he puts like the book on his lap, he's just I I have used this book.
no.
I am able to, I suppose, read the spells in the pages. I cannot understand them. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot, I cannot truly break them down to their components or
Mm.
make any sense of the things that are written here.
Mm-hmm.
But the person who gifted me this book was able to teach me a little about the language, I suppose. It
Mm.
was enough for me to be able to read them, although I didn't and still mostly don't have enough of a grasp on the language to understand the meaning of the words. So
I.
it's basically like he's able to like read them. He's
Mm.
able to he's able to like read them, but
Yes.
he's not able to like understand what each like thing like corresponds to.
Yeah, like it's he can read the words, but it's still kind of nonsense uh as it is.
Yeah. And Actually, Professor, why don't you roll an intelligence on me real quick?
Sure. Okay, that is. I don't think you have an intelligence modifier. Nope. That's a 14.
Alright, good enough. Professor Ehri isn't a spellcaster.
Mm hmm.
He's not a spellcaster. This isn't even a case of him hiding his magic.
Mm
You've
hmm.
been on an adventure on him with him at this point.
Mm hmm.
You've probably like spent some time with him, like because I've known each other for a decent bit.
Yeah.
Ehri is not a spellcaster. You have never like sensed a drop of magic in this man's body.
Mm hmm. Yeah. That is odd to him. Interesting. Usually a spell book, even just to use it, one is usually supposed to be a spellcaster. Uh, there are there are spell scrolls that can be casted by basically anybody, but this is not that.
No, it is not. Although I suppose the principle might be the same if you're comparing it to a spell scroll. As I was, he kind of like makes a gesture. I was able to cast the spells within it despite not being a spellcaster myself.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps. Interesting. Would you be willing to show me a sample page so I could have a look?
Harry will nod. And I actually want you to roll an insight.
Mm.
I'm sorry for the constant rolls of insights and opinions, but like, well, Harry does trust the professor enough to ask for a second opinion. He
Yeah,
is holding back some bits for his own like personal comfort.
that's fair. Yeah, nope, that's an 11.
Yeah. I think, yeah, with an 11, I don't think he'd catch it.
Mm-hmm.
Out of character, I would have said that had he rolled a high enough insight, he would have like you would have figured that Eri was holding something back when
Mm-hmm.
he was saying, "Yeah, me, a non-spellcaster, I was able to cast spells with this." Like, you would have been able to twig that Eri knew more about that specific mechanic that he was letting on to
Mm.
the professor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And out of character, I feel like you can probably guess why this allows non-spellcasters to cast spells, considering what it did to the magic professor did with identify.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but in any case, Professor doesn't see it, but Harry does open the book and leaf through a few of the pages. He's muttering a little to himself, like, "No, not that one, not that one. Oh, this one should be fine." And handing the pages over to he's handing the book with the pages open to the professor,
Mm-hmm. Uh,
and the professor can hold it just fine.
okay. Yeah, and he'll look over the open pages and uh try to read it or at least interpret what is written or drawn or depicted in it.
All right, so roll me an Arcana, but
Mm-hmm.
do it at disadvantage.
Oh. Um,
Since this isn't a language the professor would know.
okay. Can I use a um, can I use an item to make that a straight roll? Um,
Yes, you may.
okay, I have the Ring of Puzzler's Wit. It lets me 3 times a day make an intelligence check with advantage. So
Mm-hmm.
Arcana is intelligence, so I will make it a straight roll.
All
Um,
right, go for it.
okay, that is a. My Arcana is not great. I don't have proficiency. That's only an 11.
Dang it, I made DC 18.
Boo. Oh well.
I'm sorry, Professor, I thought you had a higher Arcana than that.
No, he has a +2.
I thought he had a higher Arcana than that. He's like the doctor.
Yeah, you'd think so, but I can only put so many stats on this man. without it being not fair.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Um, yeah, you take a look at this. You squint at it. You stare at it. Professor, you can't make heads or tails of it. This is not a language that you recognize, number
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, whatever is like being written in here is probably being written in shorthand, which is making it
Ah,
worse for you. Since
yeah.
after all, this is a spell book, and you know how spellcasters like to write their spells in
Mm-hmm.
like individual shorthand.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You would be able to read it if you had like a passing like understanding of the language, but since you do not have that, um, yeah, you can't like decipher what the pages that Ari opened for you at all, but you
Mm-hmm.
at least like get the gist that like, yeah, what Ari has opened for you is a spell. You don't know what spell this is, you don't know what this does, you don't know what kind of magic that reading this would cast, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it sure is like magic.
Okay. Okay, well, uh, I can tell it's a spell, but, other than that, I'm afraid I can't really make heads or tails of it. Does this mean anything to you?
Ari like sighs and he's just like, I'm afraid that's more or less what most people that I've approached with it have said. The language written here, I do not believe that it's, I do not believe that that there exists anyone that can read it. As I
Mm.
said, I only have as knowledge because of the person who gifted me the book, and even then, it was only to read it, not to understand what the book itself, what the spells themselves say. That
Mm.
said, he does tap like a little like cushion in the corner, and he's just this this bit here. I believe it describes the function of this specific spell. It makes flowers grow.
Oh. Um, hmm. I would ask you to try casting it, but you did mention that this was cursed, so I have a feeling there's more to it. Um, and perhaps that ought to wait.
Very nice. And then he pauses and tilts his head, and he does a seesaw motion with his hand and goes, "That one should be mostly harmless. I don't think it would have any unforeseen consequences. I deliberately chose that spell for that very reason."
Mm-hmm. Alright. Um, if you don't think it'll do any harm,
You would like me to cast that then?
yes.
Alright. Roll another insight for me, Professor.
Uh-huh. He's being very cautious. Well, that's a 10.
Yeah, no, he's fine. Out of character, Eri is psyching himself up to do it.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't wanna. He really doesn't wanna. But also, like, he did go to the professor in the hopes that like the professor might have like some insight or shed some light on this. So he really should. He doesn't wanna, but he's psyching himself up and forcing himself to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unfortunately, the professor rolled a 10, so he didn't see any of that.
Yeah, yeah.
He's probably too busy getting caught up in the book itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In any case, Ari does hold out a hand for the professor to return the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he'll give it back over.
Yeah. Ari will adjust the book in his grip and kind of like look around and then kind of look back to the professor and go, I'm not sure the children will be pleased if I grew flowers out of their floor.
Oh, perhaps we should step out into the backyard for a moment?
Would that be alright? I heard that you were not supposed to leave the house as you were
It's the
recovering.
backyard.
Professor voice to make it sound like I'm going to climb out up the fence and run away.
I'm allowed out of the physical building. I'm just not supposed to go anywhere.
Oh, all right. Off they go to the backyard. They go to the backyard, and I don't remember. Does the Layton household have like a back porch?
Um, I don't think it does.
It's fine. It's fine. We're not worrying about it. Um, they're going to the backyard, and for the sake of this FPS, and also because I don't want to like make any assumptions, the doves are probably with Leo somewhere doing Phantom stuff.
Mm,
And Harry still has a book open in his hand. He's breathing like very steadily.
mm-hmm.
Professor still failed the 10 roll, so he does not know this, but he is like breathing very intentionally to
Stay calm.
you know, yeah, to
Mm-hmm.
stay calm and psych himself up. And then he starts reading. And again, the professor doesn't have detect magic or anything up, right?
No, he doesn't have that spell.
Right. So to the professor, Eri reads from the book, right? And waves the hand that's holding his cane. And the professor sees like brilliant blue like light up like Eri's hand before as he described flowers grow all around him in the direction that he gestures at.
Mm-hmm.
And you are able to roll a perception though.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a 22.
All right, 22. You remember that part where the professor was casting identify
Yeah.
on the book and noted that hey, seems like my magic's being pulled into this book.
Mm.
A similar phenomena is happening right now as Eri makes the flowers grow. It seems that because of Aries, and the reason why Eri is you're able to like deduce this, I
Mm.
think, because you succeeded in the previous perception roll, and because I'm not mean enough to make you roll intelligence. It seems that the reason why a non-spellcaster like Eri is able to like cast the spells within the book while he's attuned to it and reading from the book itself specifically
Mm.
the spells that are inscribed within the book is because the book is drawing the magic needed for it from outside of Eri. In this
Mm.
case, it seems that because the spell is very small, it's just drawing like ambient magic in the air, of which there's a lot since it's an angle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I think you were right about it being similar to a spell scroll. At least, uh, spell scrolls are sort of pre-charged with the magic that's needed to cast them. I think what this book is doing is, uh, it seemed to be taking a bit of, just a bit, uh, of the magic I was casting on it with Identify, and I think it's, well, there's plenty of ambient magic around here for something like this, I think. Um, he's going to actually kneel down and uh, cast uh, identify on the flowers to try and see.
Ooh, okay. Rough hands.
So he can try and determine if he know if he can identify the magic uh, that Ari just cast, basically. Uh,
All right, I need to look something up real quick.
uh-huh.
Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I will note the flowers are growing like very like rapidly, and you kind of get a sense of why Eri was like, I'm not doing this inside.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you cast Identify on it, and alright, you learn that it's not a magic item. It's definitely a magic compute object, though, for
Mm-hmm.
obvious reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Its properties, it's a flower.
Yeah.
It's a flower that was grown with magic. There's no way to use it, there's no required attunement, there are no charges, if any. Learn whether any spells are affecting the item and what they are. And you learn if the item was created by a spell, you learn which spell created it, right?
Uh-huh.
Here's where it gets interesting, and I think you would have to roll either an Arcana, an Investigation, or a Perception.
Mm. Okay. I'll roll an investigation. I have a decent modifier for
Alright.
that.
Yeah, I'm giving you three options here.
Yeah. Ah. Okay. Let's see. That is. That is a 19? 19.
19. Okay, that's higher than the DC I said. So the as you identified as, it states that the flowers are being grown by some by plant growth, which is a third level spell. It basically makes it so all normal plants in a 100-foot radius centered on that point comes to can overgrow. It seems to not be quite the same spell, but
Mm-hmm.
given how strange this book has been so far, it's probably not an exact 1-to-1.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like obviously that makes sense, like different locations, different language, what have you. Like it obviously isn't 1-to-1, but it is closest to plant growth, in
Yeah.
terms of spell that Prof knows, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which,
Closest match.
yeah, which makes sense, except that when us Prof casts Identify and Professor's looking deeply into it, there seems to be another layer below that.
Mm-hmm.
Like plant growth is a spell that's being plant growth quotation marks is a spell that's being used to create these flowers, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not quite right. Something about this feels odd. It feels weirdly shaped. And the reason why it feels weirdly shaped, you realize as you look closer and investigate it, is because that while the spell is plant growth, it's also not. Let me look something up and copy and paste into the chat.
Mm-hmm. Ha 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 ha. Yep. 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 Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah, so for those listening, as Professor um looks closer, he realizes that yes, this is plant growth. It's a duplicated plant growth. The spell on the pages is wish, but somehow whoever wrote the spell book has written it in a way and manner that when Ari read this, it specifically was plant growth duplicated by wish, which I imagine has to be insane to the professor who's a spellcaster.
Mm.
This is the equivalent of using a nuclear bomb to crack a nut.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. He definitely he feels a chill go up his spine. And he stands up and he looks a little perturbed. Huh.
Yep. And Harry stops casting and shuts the book, and the glow around his hand dies down. And the the tug the book had on the apian magic around him also dies down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just again, to a spellcaster like Professor who grew up with magic in a manner that Ari did not,
Mm.
yeah, this is insane.
Mm-hmm.
This is very impressive, but it's still the equivalent of using a nuke to open a nut. This is an excessive
Mm.
use of force.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. And actually, it does make a little sense that he was able to detect it and figure it out because he actually recently was witness to somebody casting a different spell through wish. Except it was an 8th level spell, so it made a little more sense.
Yeah, this is replicating a third level spell,
Yeah,
which you would not have to use Wish for. Hell, if a spellcaster made the spell book, is probably a wizard, and wizards already have nearly all spells anyway.
right. If you want a 3rd level spell, go buy a, and you don't have it, like, just, like, buy a spell scroll for it. The 3rd level, not that expensive.
Yeah, again, it's like technically, like on a technical level, this is very impressive. What this person seems to have done is made like what this person seems to have done was give this book like the same properties of spell scroll,
Mm,
in the sense that anyone who's attuned to it can read the spells on the pages and cast it, whether or not they have their spellcaster or not.
mm-hmm,
And if they're not, it just draws the excess energy that's needed from outside. And it's able to do it so specifically that the wish inscribed on those pages duplicated this specific spell, if that
mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Oh, yeah, oh,
It's
yeah.
very it's very controlled. It's very technical and controlled and impressive, and even without rolling, you know like for sure that this is the work of some kind of like genius, or at least someone who
Mm,
has spent a long, long time like researching the art of magic.
mm-hmm.
But it's also insane.
Yeah, yeah. He takes a deep breath and turns to Ehri and he says, have you cast other spells from this? Do they all feel like that?
I'm rolling a T2 real quick. Right. That's one. Ari nods and he's just eventually cast all of the spells in this book, and most of them are just like that, harmless. And to demonstrate, he flips closer to the beginning of the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Flips closer to the beginning of the book, seeking something specific out. And I am looking for the specific thing. Give me one moment where I look for it.
Yeah, no problem.
So he seeks a specific page out and he reads from it. The same thing happens. The blue glow on his hand
Mm,
and the one that's holding the cane. And spell is activated and motes of light start appearing around Airy and like spinning around him, right?
mm-hmm.
And the professor is able to cast Identify again if you like. These are technically modes of light, but I
Mm,
will allow it for this.
yeah, yeah. He'll cast it again.
Great, amazing. These modes of lights are from the cantrip dancing lights.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it is still duplicated from Wish.
Okay, yeah. He's starting to look a little, worried. And he, gestures at the book and he says, okay, I think that's enough for demonstration. Why don't you close that back up?
Harry looks extremely relieved as he does that.
Okay. Uh. Okay. Actually, let's go back inside and put it back in those warded boxes of yours.
What character? I'm just imagining Professor like grabbing Harry by the shoulder and beginning to like march him back inside.
He's at least guiding him in that direction, yes.
And Harry's just like, "Are you alright, Professor? You look a little hurt."
um, yes. I am. That's, I'll explain in a moment. Um, okay. Uh, that those spells are um, not unfamiliar to me. I was able to positively identify them. They're uh, not the plant one at least wasn't one to one with the wording of the spell that I'm uh, familiar with. It was either a little altered or from a different sort of uh, I don't know.
Source.
Yeah, different source exactly. Oh, but well, the thing about those is that were both of them were cast uh well in a peculiar way, a very unusual way. Um Very much not the norm. Um there there is a spell that can duplicate other spells, and
I
this
I take
is
you first.
this is what is happening here. Um, that spell is not necessarily known for that function of it, but it is a feature of it, and that spell is in fact wish.
Ehri does not like, yes, this is more or less like what he has like expected and learned as well. The thing is, though, as much as Ari has been studying magic, he's not a spellcaster. He did not grow with like magic the way the professor did.
Mm-hmm.
But, like on an intellectual level, he understands like, yeah, these are being duplicated by wish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, what a waste, or like, wow, this is overkill, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't quite hit him with the same
No.
amount of like horror as it does the professor.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Okay. For context, perhaps. Wish, when used to do anything except duplicate another spell, is so powerful that um, there is a 1 in 3 chance that the person casting it will be so overcome by it that they will never be able to cast it again.
Hmm.
Um,
You wait, professor can finish.
yes. You have cast every spell in this book. That's got to be a lot. Um, at least they are duplicating spells. At least it seems all of them are probably like that. So it makes sense that you've been able to continue casting Wish, but
Yeah. Huh?
well, that's extremely dangerous and highly abnormal. Very uh, advanced and ingenious, yes, but um, this this kind of magic, uh, you have to it. You're not a caster, much less a caster of a sufficient level to be casting Wish, so it has to draw magic from other other sources. If if it's if this were to I if let me put it this way. Um, do you know the um, do you know the condition the boys have?
Yes, since we're yes, I
Yeah,
believe so.
inspiration deficiency, yes. Um, Part of.
Other character, I don't actually know if he was told. I
Ah,
assume he'd have at least heard of it, or Camille has probably made that excuse in the defense of being a child.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they've probably mentioned it enough to have. If not, then we can retcon it. Um,
Yeah.
but he goes. Part of the reason they stay in, they live in Inkwell is so that the ambient magic can bolster their systems and keep them from getting sick. I would say if you were to um, stand in this home and cast, I don't know, maybe another three of those, then that would drain a good deal of the ambient magic from this location, and there is a not zero chance that they would get sick until the area recovered within the space of perhaps a week or two.
Roll me an insight.
Mm-hmm. This is also Oatmeal making some ad hoc estimations and bullshit statistics. Um,
Yeah,
but it
honestly,
sounds good.
yeah, it sounds good. Honestly, Anquel probably has some leeway because it just has so much ambient magic. But
Yes.
like even so.
Yeah, he's what he's saying is like wish it drains so much and like that you would probably if you cast a bunch more spells here at least drain this area so that it would be kind of weak for a while until it recovered.
All right, Professor. Ehri does twitch violently when you like mention the boys and the area.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: you're saying all this, and he does not at all look surprised. He
Er-
does not all look surprised at all.
Ehri, what uh why do you think this book is cursed?
I reasons you mentioned. I recall earlier in the back yard when you asked me if all these spells in the book were more of the same of what I just demonstrated.
Yes.
I said most of them were.
Yes.
There, there's one spell in this book that, from what I can see, from what I found in research and well, he shrugs. Experience is a more straightforward application of which rather than a duplication effect.
It's not a duplication effect.
No.
Okay. Do you know what it does?
He presses his lips together to a thin line, and he was in the process of returning the book to the box, but he actually stops doing that and starts leafing through the book, and going directly to the very end of it.
Mm-hmm.
It appears that the book wasn't like fully filled.
Mm-hmm.
Like he goes like about 4/5 of the way through,
Mm-hmm.
but like this is like functionally still the last page because there are no more like filled out pages after this one,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And he hands it over to the professor, and he's just like, here it is. And the professor can try again to like read it
Mm-hmm.
with a narrow. I will no longer give you the disadvantage because at this point you have a basic idea of what the other pages do,
Mm-hmm.
so you can like kind of like cross reference.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It'll still be a tragedy though, but you can use the advantage from your item.
Excellent. All right. All right. Okay, we're gonna take that 16 instead of 4. So that means with my Arcana, that's an 18.
All right. Is that with the advantage or is that your first roll?
That's with the advantage.
You just made it.
All right.
Like the DC was exactly 18. If you had rolled even a single point higher, would not have gotten it. Um. All right. So taking a look at this and probably leaping to the previous pages to cross-reference. This is definitely Wish, but as Ari said, this is not duplicating a spell. And you're looking at this and you realize that man, whoever made this was a genius, but he was also unhinged
Mm-hmm.
because you get Professor, do you do research?
Yeah.
Do you experiment? Do you try out new things? Do you like try like hypotheses out until they're like, you know, fully formed?
Sure.
Yeah. So as you're looking through this and you're leafing through the previous pages to like cross-reference, you come to the sinking realization that this person, reason why the previous pages were all just wish duplicating lower spell effects might have been because they were trying to basically practice transcribing wish down and like molding it to how they
Mm.
wanted it to be cast. They were trying to cast wish with as little like collateral as possible, as controlled as they possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
Which was why it began with, the cantrip, dancing lights.
Mm-hmm.
And then it grew a little to plant growth, and it grew a little, but still harmless spells.
Mm-hmm.
And this final page seems to be the fruit of that effort, as it doesn't seem to be duplicating a spell, but rather, for lack of a better term, it seems to be a very specific inscribed wish.
Mm.
Like a specific desire, like that application of wish that, allows you to do basically anything for a price.
Yeah.
But this madman seems to have written it down, inscribed it, and modified it so that he could control what price would be paid.
Ooh.
And you're looking at this, and even though this isn't a duplication of spell, you actually do, and it makes sense why you succeed on this. It actually seems familiar to you, and after a moment or two, you realize, right, it seems like this was meant to open up a portal
Hmm.
between worlds or between realities, whichever word you prefer.
Yeah, he is very familiar with those types of spells and that kind of magic.
And as with the previous books and also the previous spells in this book, this is very impressive. This is very, very impressive and very controlled. And as far as you can tell, the person was actually successful.
Mm.
Within exactly 18, you don't know what price would be paid from this. You just
Mm-hmm.
have a feeling from looking at this that, yeah, from what you can tell, this would, in theory, be perfectly successful.
Mm-hmm.
It's mad, but it's perfectly successful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, he he digests that information, and he gives a small Cliff Notes version of his observations to Ehri, but he has a feeling Ehri will not be surprised by them.
It's not.
Okay, I see. I. Okay. This book has. This. This. This spell has been cast.
Yes. Yes.
I see. And now it is attuned to you.
Ehri nods.
Okay. This I can't determine from looking at it what exactly this last spell would cost, but knowing what I know about the type of thing that they're trying to accomplish, I can only guess that it would be catastrophic, um, or at least very costly. I I
The professor needs a moment, huh?
yeah. Um you what would you like to do with this book, Ehri?
You. Hmm. God, I'm trying to figure out I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Also, Fletch has typed into typed in the commentary chat with a disclaimer that I'm going to read out loud for listeners real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Out of character. The only reason I'm allowed to have this book is because it's never seeing mechanical use. Like the book has to exist because it's basically the object like the entire plot hinges on,
Mm-hmm.
like the entire plot of Aries' game.
Yes.
But like he's never using this mechanically, like ever. Even if he wanted to, like 99% of the spells in the book are completely harmless, and the one thing that's like in there that isn't is also like such a high cost
Yeah.
and also such a specific use that
Yes.
like the likelihood of it being useful is like zero anyway.
Yes. We discussed this extensively in DMs with a group of DMs, and we have this book is out of character, under metaphorical lock and key, but it is a object that exists in the fictional space of this world that our characters will have to deal with. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the
Yeah,
situation.
and although in universe it is a very like powerful magic item,
Mm-hmm.
out of universe, as I said, it doesn't actually have that many applications.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Like again, this is a disclaimer. It is only meant as a narrative device. It will only ever show up as a narrative device. It will never see mechanical use
Yes.
unless it's like to kick off like a plot or something. But like
Yes.
again, that's still within the bounds of like, narrative device.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
promise. I
It's
promise the listeners and the readers and what have you. It's never seeing use.
yes. There is a reason that when we have godlike power, it is usually an artifact that no one's allowed to keep, or a god who is strictly a NPC or DMPC. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So anyway, back to uh, the narrative. Um, Professor has asked, Ehri, what would you like to do with this book?
Mm. An area roll insight on the professor.
Yes.
All right. Let's see. His insight is not that great. Oh, all right.
Oh, an 18. That's plenty.
Mhm.
The professor isn't hiding anything. He is uh troubled and uh he based on what he knows about Ehri, he's pretty sure that Ehri is going to want to do something responsible with it, especially since he just had it in 3 very secure boxes, and has been doing research on it. But at the same time, this is very volatile magic, and this is an object that has essentially it's very intimidating, and uh, there's a very sort of reasonable fear about what might happen with this object. And he does not remember Ehri saying what exactly he wanted to do with it, except that he
Yeah,
was
that was
researching it.
intentional.
Yeah,
Yep, that was intentional.
so he's a little wary and a little worried.
Yeah. And Harry kind of like adjusts his grip on his cane, and there is a long silence for a few moments, which probably makes Professor's nerves worse.
Uh huh.
Before Ares kind of just eventually to destroy it, since well, additional methods do not seem to work.
Okay, thank the stars.
But in the short term, and he is like adjusting his grip on the cane. As I said, I cast every single spell in that book, and it it was disaster. Didn't strike until the very last spell. I well, we
Mm-hmm.
fixed things, but someone else paid the price for that spell's casting, and
Mm-hmm.
if at all possible, I would like to try and save them.
I see. In that case,
And he does lift a hand and goes, I should preface this by saying that I have no plans of using this book to do that.
okay, that's a good start.
I also have no plans on making of doing something that will have others paying the cost as well. The
Okay.
only reason that I still even have this thing is both because it's has proven remarkably difficult to destroy,
Mm,
and because I still needed to do research on the subject, as it's the only thing of its kind.
I see. Okay. Um, in that case, how can I help?
You do see him like blink like a moment, and he's just like that.
Hmm? Yes, just like that. If you're trying to save somebody, I want to help. I do that. That's one of the things that I do. He's sort of like doing vague gestures with his hands, like he's not sure how to say. um,
And Eric's just like, well, yes, but I did basically just admit to you that I passed it, the spell, and it's at least led to the loss of one person.
yes, yes, you did. I understood. I, however, can see that you carry a very, very, very deep remorse for that action and have been putting a lot of work into trying to rectify the situation as much as possible. And I respect that. I do not believe in condemning somebody for a single mistake, however large and devastating it was. I myself have made poor decisions that have cost other people their lives in the past.
Out out of character, give me a moment, because man, Professor, I
Hmm.
love him. Oatmeal, he's so
No.
good.
Oh.
Mm. But yeah, like Ehri, Ehri does turn away as the professor says this, and he kind of like lets the words like wash over him for a moment,
Hmm.
takes a deep breath, and he's just, I see. You have my gratitude, Professor, for having so much faith in me.
You've, as far as I'm concerned, you've already proven yourself to be a decent person, and your desires with regard to this book and this past events only reinforce that in my mind. Um, Others may not see it the same way, but uh, for my, in my case at least, um, I would like to help you with your goal, and uh, I would I equally desire to eventually see this artifact destroyed.
Yeah, and Eri does huff at that, and it's just like you and me both. Judging by what I know of magic items by now, though, it might be a durable enough artifact that doing so will be very difficult.
This is true. However, I may be in the well, maybe not unique position, but I may be in a rather good position um, with regard to being able to access resources that can destroy items such as these. Uh,
Oh,
yes, I, in fact, there was a. How to put this simply? There was a. There was a god who made a few bad decisions and created a few magical items that should not have been uh, let out into the world. Nothing quite like this, um, but things that would be things that were a little too powerful to be um, let into the wrong hands, you know?
mm-hmm.
And one of these objects I personally tracked down. Um, I acquired it from the person who had current possession of it, and I did in fact destroy it.
Eri nods, and he's just like, well, it is a relief to know that after everything is said and done, this thing can be destroyed.
Yes.
And this is at least something they both agree on. Because as much hubris as Professor has, as much like buried hubris Eri has, like
mm-hmm.
It's only in so much that they're willing to still research this to try and like, figure out a way to like save the person like who have to pay the cost. It's not so much that they're willing to like keep this thing around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because this is just begging for someone super well versed in magic to be like, hey, what if I did the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, uh, at the very least, I know. Well, I know a god who can cast wish. I know a mortal who could cast wish, and one thing about items created by wish, usually, they can be destroyed by it as well, should it be necessary. Um,
Very not.
it, I would prefer to avoid it. I did not use wish to destroy the previous item. Um, uh, avoid it if possible, but if it is the only way, then it is the only way.
I would also prefer to avoid it as when I was doing research for this and I came across Wish for the first time. I did see that doing anything outside of duplicating spells did come with a cost, which is
Mm,
part of the reason why I have not even tried to find someone who can cast Wish to help solve this problem.
mm-hmm.
Because
Thankfully,
like yeah, technically you could go to like some super strong spellcaster and convince them somehow
mm-hmm.
to like, solve this problem, get like the person who has lost back through Wish, but that's just gonna open up like more problems
Oh yeah,
since like normally Wish's like consequences are unpredictable.
oh yeah, oh yeah, and Professor isn't suggesting that they use it for that part of the goal. But if like it for just the part that is destroying the book, physically destroying the book, if only Wish can do it, he would be willing to. Uh, but yeah, no, for the other part, absolutely, he's not going to try to fix it with Wish. That's not. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, yes, thoughts. And I think Eri just like breathe out, sigh, run a hand like through his hair under his hat. We're going, but I feel as if we should put a pin in this conversation for now.
Mm-hmm.
I would hate to cause you more undue stress while you are still recovering.
He kind of makes a face. Uh,
Professor really going to deny that he didn't get even a little bit stressed by this?
he's not going to deny it. He's just pouting about it. He slumps back in his chair and picks up the Rubik's Cube again.
And Eri is just like, would you like me to make us some tea?
Yes, please.
Right, and he shall go and do just that. After putting the book into the three secure boxes again.
Good.
Would Professor comment on like Eri carrying that thing around?
um, I think he might say this. I know you're attuned to it, but do you need somewhere, I don't know, safe to put it? In the meantime.
Um, yes, quite frankly, I only carry it around as it's very much a damned if I do, damned if I don't situation. If I
Yes.
carry it around, it stands a higher chance of anyone coming across it eventually if I'm robbed or
Mm.
attacked or what have you. What he doesn't say is that which seems to be growing more and more likely the longer
Mm.
I stay in Nightwell and like
Mm-hmm.
hang out with this crew.
Mm-hmm.
But leaving it behind in my room is
Ah.
equally ill-advised. At the very least, if I have it on my person, I can take steps to secure it. I cannot do that if I leave it behind in my room and someone decides to break in.
Mm. Okay. I have a proposal for you. Um, in my ellipsis, I have a few lockboxes that um, can only be accessed by um, essentially the person who puts their the person who touches the lock mechanism becomes the only person who can open it. Even if somebody else puts something in one of those lock boxes, even I can't get in it.
I see.
Um,
And Harry nods.
if you uh, don't want to leave it in my ellipsis, I understand. I can try to relocate one of the lock boxes to um, where you live, just as an extra level of security, perhaps. Um, but otherwise, the ellipsis itself is very secure, and then this lockbox would make sure that um, only you could uh, actually remove it.
You do see Harry deliberate this. We're going. If I do leave it in the ellipsis, then I'd have to, well, keep going back and forth between it. Keep going back and forth and going inside whenever I want to conduct research, which is like the biggest problem here, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Which because it means that every time he'd want to like take a look at the book or like cross compare it to stuff that he's already found
Mm-hmm.
and all that, he'd have to go all the way to the ellipsis, and the professor will have to be there still to let him in. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The professor does think. Okay. Well, in that case, um, how would you feel about me lending you one of these lock boxes then? Um, they're very heavy, very difficult to steal, but even if somebody did steal it, it is impossible um, to open without. I mean, technically speaking, a wish spell could probably do it, but it's magic resistant, so at least it would be difficult.
Hmm.
You would be the only one who could open it.
Ari does not, and he's just, if it is no trouble at all, I would hate to make you feel as if you had to lend it out to me.
Oh no, no, it's no trouble. I've got a couple of them, and I'm I think only using one or two right now. They are really quite heavy though, so I won't be able to fetch it myself. I may if you can grab two or three people who are strong enough, um, I can uh, who I guess have been in the ellipsis before. Um, then I can lend you the key for a few hours, and you can the ellipsis can help you find it, so you could bring it over to your hotel room apartment.
In room, yes, and
Ah.
I could try to, I could try to lift it myself, which like Professor looking at mild-mannered Eri with like the coat that like this like hides like the lines of his body. Though admittedly, Professor did see during the beach game that Eri is actually quite like muscular.
Sorry about that. Somebody was calling me. I'm back.
Mm, hello, yes. No, Eri was just like I could try carrying it myself. Which like he wears a coat that like hides a lot of the lines of his body. But to be fair, Professor did see him when he went to the beach and did have muscles.
Mm-hmm. He just kind of gives him like a raised eyebrow from his seat and tilts his head a bit, thinking, "All right, you can try."
Character, how heavy is the box?
Uh, eh, um, let's see. I would probably put it at a few £100. Um,
Ooh, heavy, heavy. Like when Eri heard box, he was expecting like, a box, not like a goddamn like cupboard or like
a safe.
hell. It's a safe, yeah.
It's more of a safe. Yeah, I think I'd probably actually I could probably scale it a little smaller. Let's say it's 200 pounds, so that would be a lot for Airy, but he could probably manage it.
Yeah, it'd be like carrying a big dog. Like
Yeah.
it's not like great. Like it's like carrying an Alaskan Malamute.
Mm.
It's not great, but it's like possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I, I do kind of want to roll to see like if he succeeds immediately or if he has to take a bit though. Would that
Ooh,
be athletics?
go ahead and do athletics. Yeah,
Yeah, he doesn't have proficiency in this because I decided to sink it into acrobatics instead.
fair.
Oh, buddy, yeah, he tries it and yeah, it's super heavy. He isn't able to like immediately like immediately like lift it. He will eventually, but like
Mm-hmm.
he was not like prepared for how heavy that was.
Yeah, it's probably like weirdly heavy for its size.
Yeah, and as Eri like puffs, he's just like out of curiosity, is this thing magical or does this thing warp space and weight in some manner?
um, it's not magical. It's just Um, it's got a very heavy material made as part of it, honestly, specifically so that people would have a harder time stealing it.
Ah, I see. Does like eventually like get his grip on it properly? Does manage to lift it up? Because again, he actually has pretty good strength.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Oh, yeah.
he has pretty good strength.
Mm-hmm.
It's not his main stat, but he has pretty good strength.
Oh, yeah.
But like also it's still like a pretty heavy thing. So he does eventually manage to get his grip on it and lift it up though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have a kind of a it works on like sci-fi rules of like it uses your biometric data. It um, takes a sort of scan of your life signature. It's like a sci-fi fingerprint. Um,
Oh, wait, if it takes like a signature of like it does like a scan of like it's a life signature basically.
yeah, kind of like if you were um, it only so that like it will open to you only, and if you uh die it probably won't work.
Hmm. All right, so I can't like give this little lore tidbit,
Mm-hmm.
but nods and like set nods. Yep, it sure is attuned to Eri. Like nothing else can open it now. Yep, I can't like give this specific bit of
Oh,
lore, but yeah, it sure is attuned to Eri.
interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, Eri will make like Professor some tea and chat with him on less heavy topics as um I think we can end the FPS there unless
Yeah,
Professor has anything else he wants to say.
no, I think that's about got it for us. I think that's very nice.
Yep. And
Woohoo!
thank you all for listening. We both hope that you had a good time.
Bye bye!
Bye.